Okay, good day, members of the media. We were scheduled to start at 2. We were ready as at 2 o'clock. We had to accommodate other media houses that had indicated their late arrival. TAG is a man of punctuality. So since by 10 to 2, he was already saying to me, Pule, we must walk down there so that they see we keep time. So they are already used to me. Sometimes we start after 10 minutes to accommodate them. So the Treasurer General is going to read out a statement detailing decisions of the National Executive Committee, and then thereafter an opportunity will be opened to yourselves, members of the media, to ask questions you may have. Over to you, TG. You can come in. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Comrade Pule, and a very good afternoon to all members of the media here present, and a very good afternoon to those who are listening to us in the country. The National Executive Committee of the ANC held its regular meeting in a virtual session from the 25th to the 27th of March 2022. The NEC deliberated on reports from the National Working Committee and on a range of organizational matters, as well as national and international developments. The NEC welcomed the report by the national officials on their visit to Comrade Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Jessie Duarte. The NEC wished her and her family well for her continued recovery. The NEC supported the deployment of Comrade Gwen Ramokgopa, a member of the NEC and NWC, as a coordinator in the Office of the Secretary General to reinforce the Treasurer General as he assists the DSG in conducting the work of the Secretary General. South Africa continues to emerge from the ravages of COVID-19 pandemic, allowing us to move towards lifting significant areas of restrictions over the last few months, and currently at adjusted level 1 of the state of national disaster. As a nation, we must remain vigilant and continue to observe the public health measures of wearing masks, social distancing, and hand hygiene. We still fall short of our target of ensuring vaccination of at least 70% of the adult population to ensure adequate protection against future waves of the pandemic. The NEC urges all South Africans to get vaccinated, especially young people between the ages of 18 and 35, of whom 6 million are not yet vaccinated. It calls upon community organizations, trade unions, business and professionals, faith-based organizations, and other sectoral formations to work with government to encourage vaccination. On the renewal of the ANC and organizational structures, the political overview by President Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as other reports to the NEC, highlighted the ongoing priority to the renewal and rebuilding of the African National Congress, its values and integrity, and ability to be an even more effective instrument of liberation in the hands of our people. The reports noted that the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions has also created space for the ANC structures to rebuild and renew their mandates, especially ANC branches throughout the country. To date, 2,300 ANC branches have held their branch biannual general meetings, what we call BBGMs, The NEC encouraged the remaining branches to also hold their BBGMs, to renew their mandates so that they too can focus on their primary mandate set out in the ANC Constitution, namely, identify basic service needs and grievances of residents in the community, enter into collaborative partnerships with civic, sport, cultural, religious, business, women and youth organizations in the community with a view to forming a common front to accelerate service delivery of basic services. 3, initiate the formation of street committees in urban areas to deepen democracy and to safeguard the personal security of residents. Initiate the formation of street committees in urban areas. Foster trust and cross-cultural relations among residents in an endeavor to build stable, non-racial, non-sexist communities. And lastly, to receive and consider reports from ward councillors and make recommendations to councillors on basic service needs and other challenges of residents. The NEC considered and welcomed updates on preparations for regional and provincial conferences across the country and the roadmaps submitted towards these conferences. Mpumalanga Province will hold its provincial conference from the 1st to the 3rd of April, the Eastern Cape from the 22nd to the 24th of April, and the conferences of the Western Cape, Northwest, Gauteng are scheduled to take place during May and June of this year. The KZN province will probably be early July. The NEC welcomed the reports on the series of regional and provincial workshops held over the last month across the country in order to review the implications of the local government election results for the ANC and to discuss the implementation of our 2022 program of action to ensure that the issues of basic services in communities, engagement with communities, and other issues are addressed. The proposal for a nationwide Letsema campaign to focus attention on local issues for communities and government to work together on challenges was adopted by the NEC. The NEC also welcomed the revitalization of the government Imbizo programs started this week in the Northwest to strengthen the link between government and the people and to engage citizens on the social compact to tackle unemployment and poverty. The NEC finalized the appointment of members of the Renewal Commission consisting of the following members: Comrade Togo Didiza as the chairperson, Comrade Naledi Pando, Joel Nechitenze, Zingiswa Losi, Walisi Rote, Mahlengi Bengu, Jeremy Cronin, Fasiha Hassan, Becky Nkosi, Dr. Billy Ramukhupa, Abba Omar, and one member of each of the ANC Veterans League, Women's League, and the Youth League. The Commission will be responsible for making recommendations to the 55th National Conference on a Vision 2032, describing the desired state of the ANC as it approaches its 120th year of existence. The Commission will also engage all ANC structures and cadres in discussion on the priorities and tasks of the movement for the decade ahead, and also encourage broader social formations, starting with the alliance partners, to contribute to a debate on the role and place of the ANC in the fundamental transformation of our society. On organizational discipline, the NEC agreed to proposal by the NWC to strengthen the National Disciplinary Committee, the NDC, and the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals, NDCA, to ensure that matters of ill discipline in the ANC structures are dealt with more decisively and expeditiously in a manner that is impartial and fair. The National Disciplinary Committee will now consist of Comrade Ralph Mgijima as a chairperson, Thandi Olin and Vasurdi, Karenza Milad, Robinson Ramaide, Vusi Pikoli, Susan Shabangu, Faith Mutambi, Lindiwe Maseko, and Notawe Mafu. The National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal will consist of Comrade Johnny Dilange as chair, Lindiwe Hendricks, Krish Govenda, Max Potwana, Geraldine Fraser, Muleketi, Firoz Kachalia, Sylvia Lucas, and Pumulo Maswali. The NEC decided that the majority of members of both the NDC and NDCA should be non-NEC members to avoid any perception of bias or conflict of interest. The task team report of the Commission of Inquiry on State Capture. The NEC welcomed the update by the task team on the report of the Commission of Inquiry in State Capture, commonly known as the Zondo Commission, chaired by Comrade Jeff Hadebe. The task team was established to make recommendations and make comprehensive proposals on the ANC response to the report and recommendation of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. The task team briefed the NEC on its recommendation relating to the ANC and its deployees, referrals of proposed policies, legislative amendment and structures to the NEC subcommittees for processing of proposed policies and matters to be referred to the Integrity Commission, the Renewal Commission, and other structures of the ANC. It noted that a discussion paper prepared by the task team on preventing corruption and state capture will be presented to the extended NWC meeting, which will be held in April of this year. On local government candidate selection disputes, the NEC adopted the report and recommendation of the ANC Electoral Committee, chaired by Comrade Khalima Mutlante, regarding disputes arising from the ANC local government candidate selection process in 2021. The committee and the various provincial list committees processed over 770 disputes and appeals and made determination on each of the cases. Consistent with the undertaking given to the ANC structures and communities by the President, the NEC urged the National Working Committee to develop a plan to ensure the urgent implementation of the Electoral Committee recommendations, including a process of reporting back to ANC structures and communities. The Electoral Committee will also embark on an internal process to review the entire candidate selection process with a view to recommend measures to improve the process and strengthen internal democracy within the ANC. On the issue of violence in ANC structures, the NEC noted with great concern the instances of violence within its structures and directed all ANC structures to take disciplinary action against those who engage in violent and criminal behavior. It further called upon law enforcement agencies to investigate and prosecute in such instances. On the ANC Youth League, the NEC received reports from the ANC Youth League National Task Team, the NYTT, on preparation towards the forthcoming 26th National Congress of the ANC Youth League, which is now scheduled for June of this year. As part of its renewal and rebuilding process, the ANC Youth League branch general meetings are taking place throughout the country. The ANC Youth League has successfully convened 5 regional conferences in Nomen, Mashabane, Pitamukaba, Waterberg, and Vembe regions in Limpopo, as well as in Emalahleni region in KwaZulu-Natal. This coming weekend, the ANC Youth League is expected to convene 6 more regional conferences in the Northern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. The NEC commended the leadership of the ANC and YTT and wished them well as they work tirelessly to ensure that the 26th National Congress of the ANC Youth League convenes in June of this year as planned. The rebuilding of the ANC Youth League is critical to its core mandate and championing the interests of young people and ensuring their active participation in the life of the nation and of the ANC, thereby tackling high youth unemployment, promoting young people's access to education and skills development, and also combating social ills such as substance abuse. On the ANC Women's League, the NEC noted and supported the ANC Women's League roadmap towards its own national conference, noting that the term of office of the NEC of the ANC Women's League has expired. The NEC support the decision of the NWC to appoint a task team consisting of Comrade Thandi Modise as a convener, Natim Tetwa, Jenny Schreiner to make recommendation regarding the status of the ANC Women's League NEC. It mandated the national officials and the NWC to process the report of the task team and take decisions to be reported to the NEC for ratification. Furthermore, it mandated the national officials to attend to matters arising from the conviction of the ANC Women's League President, Comrade Batabile Dlamini, in line with ANC policy. On Veterans League, the NEC noted the roadmap towards the Veterans League Conference, which also will take place towards the end of this year. On MK Unity Conference, the NEC took note of the report and preparations for the MK Veterans Unity Conference, which is now scheduled to take place by the end of April of this year. On preparations for the 55th National Conference, the NEC received reports from the National Conference Preparatory Committee, NCPC, on preparations for the National Policy Conference, which will be held in June of this year, and then the 55th National Conference scheduled to take place from the 16th to the 20th of December this year. The National Conference discussion papers will be finalized in April and shortly thereafter published in a special edition of the ANC Journal, Umkhabulo, for discussion in ANC structures and for inputs from all structures of the ANC and also members of society. The NEC also received a report from the Electoral Committee, chaired by Comrade Khalima Motlanthe, on draft rules and procedures for elections of the National Executive Committee at the 55th National Conference in December. The NEC welcomes the proposal and will discuss and finalize them at the next NEC meeting. On immigration and border management, the 54th National Conference of the ANC called upon the Department of Home Affairs to exercise its mandatory function to confirm and protect the identity and status of all citizens and all persons within our borders, and to regulate immigration and the entry and exit of persons through our ports. The ANC welcomes and supports the steps being taken by the Minister of Home Affairs, Comrade Aaron Motsoaledi, to fulfill this mandate. The ANC supports the measures being undertaken by government to ensure effective border management, strengthen home affairs systems to prevent illegal activities, and to address equitable access to employment for South African citizens. It also supports efforts by provincial governments to ensure the more effective regulation of businesses, especially SMMEs. Furthermore, the ANC calls upon government to ensure that both South African citizens and non-citizens comply with immigration and other laws of the land. It welcomes those foreign nationals who have chosen to live and work in South Africa in compliance with the laws of the country. It calls upon government and citizens to respect and protect their rights and condemns unreservedly any unlawful actions and violence against foreign nationals. It urges citizens to have legitimate concerns regarding the presence of illegal and undocumented immigrants, to work with relevant authorities to ensure that our laws are implemented. The ANC calls upon law enforcement and other agencies to act against both illegal and undocumented immigrants, unscrupulous employers, and corrupt officials who fail to enforce the law. On Russia and Ukraine, the NEC expressed appreciation for the efforts by President Cyril Ramaphosa to engage various parties to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It noted the ongoing discussions between Russia and Ukraine and reaffirmed the ANC's conviction that differences are best resolved through negotiation, dialogue, and compromise. In supporting calls for negotiations and dialogue, the NEC reaffirmed the ANC's commitment to human rights and condemned the human suffering inflicted on civilians by the conflict. On party-to-party relations and strengthening international solidarity, in keeping with its commitment to internationalism and international solidarity, the ANC continues to engage with a wide range of organizations on our continent and across the world. The NEC received reports on meetings with the Danish Social Democratic Party and the Olaf Palme Center, attendance of the National Congress of the Prosperity Party of Ethiopia. Bilateral meetings are now scheduled with SWAPO, Frelimo, Botswana National Front, and ZANU-PF. The NEC also welcomed the launch of the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere School of Leadership, a joint project between the liberation movements, ANC, Chama Cha Mapinduzi, SWAPO, MPLA, Frelimo, ZANU-PF, and the Chinese Communist Party. The school, located in Kibaha in Tanzania, will accept its first intake of students during the course of this year. The NEC noted that the SADC Troika remains seized with the situations in Mozambique, Eswatini, and Lesotho, with a view to assist the governments and peoples of our SADC neighbors to find lasting and peaceful solutions to the challenges that their countries are facing. Western Sahara. The NEC notes with dismay the announcement by the government of Spain recognizing the Kingdom of Morocco's proposal that Western Sahara becomes an autonomous province of Morocco. This flies in the face of long-standing African Union and United Nations resolutions which confirm the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and stress that it is only a free and fair referendum of the Sahrawi people that can decide their fate. The ANC condemns the declaration as an attempt to circumvent the AU and UN resolutions and to create a Bantustan denying the inalienable rights of the Sahrawi people to freedom, human rights, and dignity. The ANC calls on all freedom-loving people to stand in solidarity with the peoples of Sahrawi Arab Republic. The NEC conveyed its fraternal greetings and solidarity to the Polisario Front, and it continues to lead the struggles of the Sahrawi people. Solidarity with Cuba. The NEC fully supports the government's intention of providing humanitarian aid to Cuba at the time of economic crisis and suffering in that country. Cuba is experiencing the worst economic crisis in its history, caused primarily by the U.S. economic embargo, which is now in its 61st year. This has made it virtually impossible to acquire medicine and basic foodstuffs. The NEC notes with disappointment the ruling by the North Gauteng High Court to temporarily interdict the Department of International Relations and Cooperation from providing humanitarian aid in the form of food, medicines to Cuba. It notes that the matter will be fully ventilated in a court of law in the near future. We reaffirm our commitment to the principle of international solidarity, which played a critical part in our struggle against apartheid colonialism. Fatal air crash in China. The ANC conveys its heartfelt condolences to the government and the people of the People's Republic of China following the crash of a China Eastern Airlines Boeing 737-800 that claimed the lives of all 132 people on board, the worst air disaster in China in the past 3 decades. As we conclude, the NEC concurred with the closing remark of the President when he said, there is a direct dialectical relationship between the revolutionary movement and the state of government. If we do not have a strong ANC, we cannot have an effective government. Where we have allowed service delivery to fail, where there has been abuse of state resources and mismanagement of government, our people's trust in our organization has faltered, close quote. The NEC therefore reaffirmed its determination to implement and lead the multifaceted program of renewal in government, organizational, and its relationship with the people of South Africa and all sectors of our communities. The NEC noted with profound sadness the loss of the following comrades and convey its condolences to their families and the loved ones. Former Matlosane Mayor, Comrade Ofense Mohale, Muslim Judicial Council Life President and former Ambassador to Saudi Arabia and member of NSCOP, Sheikh Abdul Hanif Babil, veteran Ntate Richard Mutelo Parepare Mutubi, Comrade Maria Marx, sister-in-law of Comrade J.B. Marx, Ward Councillor Ndauleng Mpho Mofokeng, Dr. Patrick Maisela, Mandla Mabuza, former SASCO President, AEC Policy Coordinator, Nkosi Ngangomhlaba Matanzima, veteran Hank Dulelo, Comrade Claude Schroeder, Ward Councillor Mzwandile Boy, veteran Paulos Nkosi, Comrade Mkolisi Sokacha, who is a member of Parliament. May their souls rest in eternal peace. That concludes the statement on behalf of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, TG. You can hear this was quite a very weighty National Executive Committee meeting. Are you getting yourself ready to raise a hand, or it's just...
I'm getting myself ready.
Okay. Who else is getting themselves ready? You are all getting yourselves ready. Okay, now you can do it. You can now raise your hands. Because you're getting yourself ready. You just you introduce yourself, the media outlet you represent, then you proceed with your question. So TG, this is how we're going to roll. We're going to take 2-3 rounds of questions. So Amos, do we have an online line? Okay, that's okay. I think those that are listening on our Facebook platform, is it up? Maybe what we should have done was to ask them to send questions to you on the WhatsApp line that the TG can respond to. Okay, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Good afternoon, TG. It's Peter Molemani from IFM. TG, were there any guidelines from the NEC with regard to members who are recommended by the branches or who are appointed to contest the upcoming conferences while we are still facing criminal conferences? Thanks.
Okay, guidelines, TG.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Bongile, Marco, SABC News. Treasurer General, I might have missed you when you were speaking about the fact that the committee chaired by Lieutenant Kate on the state treasury report has recommended that it should be taken to the Party's Integrity Commission. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly, but if I did, the question is that the Integrity Commission is the one that, in inverted commas, takes action against those senior officials who are actually fingered in that report, and if so, are there any time frames? I also wanted to talk about the fact that it will also be taken to the extended list of the NWC, which will take place sometime in April. So looking at all these processes that are yet to take place, it means we might have to wait a little longer for action to be taken against the likes of the Mandasha and goes.
Okay, you want action?
Yes.
All right. Oh, okay, TG, it's Lizega. Lizega from the Mail and Guardian.
I think she did say.
Okay.
And its reports, when other findings are made against some of the provincial and regional secretaries, because there were allegations that were made by some branches that regional secretaries and provincial secretaries were manipulating processes in terms of the list. And which provinces did you find or did former president find problematic in his report? Second question is on the leagues. The Women's League as well as the ANC Youth League have complained that they don't have money, financial resources to take them to conferences. Was there an indication from the mother body whether they would be able to assist those leagues? I see you didn't mention anything about assistance in terms of structures and finances. And on the certified resolution, the certified resolution was very clear and also those very clear, especially when it comes to the ANC Women's League president. That's something we have to maybe explain just so that we don't get confused. I was under the impression that when you have been convicted or you have been charged in the courts that you step aside, what exactly do the top officials need to discuss around this issue? Because for me, it's clear cut what it was. It's not actually what's the difference to me. And the Tata Zamini who was recently released on 1,500 grand bail. And he's one of those people who seem to be of the idea that the problems of drugs and the problems of theft and corruption, not necessarily corruption, sorry, but the problems of crime are alleviated and highlighted because of illegal immigrants. Do we have a problem of xenophobia in South Africa? And if not, are you saying as the ANC that we don't have a crisis at all?
Sorry, man, there's some sound coming from somewhere. Can we try and assist? Because not only is it disruptive, it is actually denying the people of South Africa an opportunity to listen to our press briefing. Please, if anyone wants to listen to a gadget, they are welcome to go to Sawa Street so that they don't disrupt this briefing. Okay, let's take the first. Can we take the first three? Is the last one? Samgelo is the last one. Oh no, we've taken the first three. Samgelo. Let's allow the TG to respond and come back.
Yeah, thank you very much. On the guidelines, what the NEC decided to do is to allow the electoral committee to finalize the guidelines, especially to indicate what will happen to people who may have all sort of allegations. So that work has started. Comrade Khalima has promised to bring the report to the next meeting of the NEC, so we are able to guide our structures out there as to who can make themselves available for election into any leadership position. On the issue of the committee led by Comrade Jeff Hadel, yes, they did present how they're going to do their work, basically. They still have to do the work. So what they did, they presented to the NEC and say, in doing this work, we will interview various comrades and so on. But we had said some of the recommendation that they will come up with will go to the Integrity Commission, and some will go to other bodies of the ANC, including the Renewal Commission. So that work has just begun. The committee has not come up with a verdict on anybody yet. They are still starting their work. On the manipulation by some of our regional structures, one of the mandate of the committee led by Comrade Khalima is to deal precisely with that, to come up with the guidelines that will ensure that there is no manipulation of our systems. You will recall that the ANC started a new membership system, which is electronical and is controlled from the center. So it helps us avoid manipulation. When people are sitting in BGMs and so on, if you arrive there and they scan your ID, if you are not a member in good standing, the system will indicate that you can attend the meeting. But the good thing is that we can see that from the Tuli House. Doesn't matter whether you are in Mahikeng or somewhere in the rural areas, we are able to pick that up and intervene. And on many of our branch secretaries have already been trained to use the system. On the leaks, yes, it is true that in particular the Youth League has approached us already. They've written a letter to the SGO to say they need assistance with their conference, which they want, their Congress, they call it Congress. They want to have their Congress in June. So we have received a request to assist, and we have agreed that we will assist, same as the Women's League. They are also planning their conference for June, and have asked that they be assisted as they plan that conference. They've already given us their roadmap, so we will be assisting them. On step aside applies as you explained it, Lizeka. It's if you are indicted in any court of law, charged for serious crimes, you are expected to step aside. If you are convicted in the court of law, you are expected to resign. So those policies are in place. However, in processing these matters, the NEC has asked the officials to deal with that. So as you know, the president is in the UAE today. So the officials have not met today. But as soon as the president is back, we will meet and then we will deal with those issues that require our attention, including the issues that affect the president of the Women's League. Fighting drugs, we support communities as they fight drugs. All we appeal for is for people not to take the law into their own hands. That's why in our statement we emphasize that they must work with law enforcement agencies. Because one of the problems that once people take the law into their own hands, it creates all sorts of problems. So we agree that as communities, let's work together, work with the police, with law enforcement agencies to deal with issues of drugs. The issues of drugs are not just limited to foreign nationals. It's a serious matter that we need to deal with as a country. With respect to foreign nationals, I've already said in my statement that we support the work that Comrade Mutsualedi is doing to ensure that people who must be in South Africa are people who are here legally and possesses proper legal documents. And I think what Comrade Mutsualedi is doing is to enforce that policy and legislation, and he deserves our support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, TG. Well, and you have given me a bit of a relief, because some of these questions, they like bring them repeatedly, even when we've clarified them. So, TG Ulitwaleji Mamotla. Sampiano?
Mr. Mashakile, just on the Batalion and the Women's League president, why is it such a special case that it has to be dealt by the national officials of the party? Why have they not simply just implemented the resolution? Once we are charged, once we are convicted, we simply step aside. That is what's taken about this case. Two, on issues pertaining to the Mpumalanga Political Conference, the branch general meetings were marked by violence, and some days even the spilling of guns in those meetings. How are you going to ensure that that political conference that is sitting in Witbank over the weekend is not a festival of chairs or festival of tables, like we saw in the Eastern Cape Political Conference back in 2017? On the Eastern Cape Political Conference, there is seemingly a political war ongoing with the province, as Osama and Babalo are carried out for control of their province. How are you going to ensure that a festival of tables or a festival of chairs does not ensue in violence and planning at that specific conference? Thank you.
Looks like that's all. Okay, TG, but I'm sure some fellow knows that the ANC is an organization of process, but the TG will clarify.
No, some fellow will remember that I think if we go back to the step-aside guidelines, I think we call them guidelines, they are very specific on how we should go around these issues. Firstly, the guideline says if you are indicted by a court of law, competent court of law, you should step aside. But it then says in the following paragraph, you should then approach the Secretary General and say, Secretary General, I've been indicted and I'm stepping aside. There may be other comrades who might come and say, yes, but I want to explain something. So basically what we're doing by allowing the officials to look at the matter is to allow a comrade to come Remember, the NEC is a big body. I think we are supposed to be 86 plus the leagues. So there are some matters that I think should be handled differently. You can't say in the NEC to a comrade, please explain yourself. So the NEC says, no, let the officials deal with the matter. So we are not delaying. If the president was around, we would have met today to deal with the matter. So we're not treating Comrade Batabile's case as special. Mpumalanga, we have the same concerns, Samgelo, that there shouldn't be violence in our meetings, people can't come with guns. So already efforts are taken to ensure not only Mpumalanga, all conferences should adhere to particular protocols, that you can't come with guns or start fighting in our conferences. So we'll be putting our eyes on all these conferences. And the officials of the ANC will be going around the country to either open or close those conferences. I will be visiting Mpumalanga myself on Friday to open that conference, and the president will close it on Sunday. So we'll be working very close with the comrades to ensure that, our activities are peaceful. And then we allow branches of the ANC to express themselves and not be intimidated by anybody. So we are going to try and make sure that there is no festival of chairs, Samkel. People must be peaceful, they must behave, and if they don't, there must be consequences. Because you can't come into an ANC meeting, disrupt, and think it will be business as usual. But otherwise, thank you very much for the questions, and the rest you can follow up with Pule later.
RTG. Yes, stay. Are you covered?
Yeah, we will distribute the statement again.
Yes, we have already distributed the statement. Palani, are you?
We are fine,
Sure. Okay, Samgelo.
Just another one, TG, on South Africa's stance, and in particular your organization, the ANC, on the war between Russia and Ukraine. How far are the efforts of the president of the country, I would assume he briefed on the ANC meeting, on his deliberations with the Ukrainian president? Has he reached out to him? What has the reception been like from Ukraine, as opposed to knowing that he's already spoken to Vladimir Putin, the Russian president? Just the context of why, as the ANC, you have deemed it fit that the current administration play a mediating role and not choose a specific side.
Okay. Yeah. The president's approach is to reach out to all parties, not just Russia. Whether he has spoken to President Zelensky, I'm not sure. I don't have the details. But his approach is to reach out to all sides, encourage dialogue, and I think even where he is currently is continuing with those efforts. And not only as President Ramaphosa, but he's carrying with him as well efforts of the AU and others who think alike with us in the continent, that we should encourage a peaceful resolution of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Realeboch. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. No, that's fine. I mean, one-on-ones are done in a much more organized fashion. You send requests, we look at them, evaluate, approve. So there's no, there are protocols here, simply. What's wrong? You want my term to end?
No, but he will grant you.
No, you'll be granted. You'll be granted.
Just managing the environment. Yeah.
No, you're going to get one-on-ones. First floor, sure. Okay, guys, those ones who want to have one-on-ones, let me put in gas speed. Yeah, my phone.